Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Carry On Abroad from 1972, directed by Gerald and of course the 24th Carry On film in the series. So yes, we are back once again ready to discuss Carry On. This time around, Carry On Abroad, one of the later films in the series, obviously the 24th. There'll be a few films after this, and then it would really, the series would go downhill massively for me. And of course, yes, first of all, there'll be a spoiler warning for the discussion. If you haven't seen this film, I simply recommend seeing it and then come back to this video, this discussion, and we can go from there. We can discuss this film in the comments, once you've seen the video, and we can talk about our opinions on this and compare it perhaps to different Carry On films, in the series. So yes, with all that said, let's dig into my thoughts. Second watch this time, a few days ago, and I wanted to see this film again. Saw it last year for the first time, going through the Carry On set behind me, of course, and I think for the ranking and just for enjoyment, I wanted to rewatch this one because it was, while I did enjoy this one quite a bit, I think it was hard to get my precise thoughts on a few things. It's a very unique Carry On film, very particular feeling, although it can be compared to different Carry On films, the plot and them going away, for example, like camping and such. It is very different, and of course, it's one of the last ones, that is truly worthy for me as well. It's very interestingly, joint with Matron, which is the previous Carry On film, the Carry On film with the most, kind of regulars, the Carry On team all in one film. Obviously we've not got Jim Dale in this film. He would return for Carry On Columbus, but he had pretty much kind of left the series by this point, and he wouldn't return to obviously Columbus, which some people would not really count as a proper Carry On film. And yes, we do have most of the main cast though, Sid James, Barbara Windsor, Bernard Bresslaw, Joan Sims, all these regulars. It's the final as well Charles Hawtrey film, for the Carry On series, which is very sad. He was, up to this point, he'd been in, well, it was his 23rd Carry On film, and his final one. It was only one film before this that he was not in, from the very beginning of the series. So a massive regular, and we'll get to that. I do think this is probably the worst Charles Hawtrey character, and I wasn't really big on it personally. But yes, we do have most of the team here, and Kenneth as well, and all these regulars. So yes, the main plot, as we know, kind of shows the Carry On team going away on holiday to Spain, Hells Bells, which is hilarious how they named it that. This hotel, of course, this kind of package holiday for some of them, and of course they go on the bus, the coach. We have a few scenes before that they actually arrive at the hotel, and when they get there, of course they're all voicing their concerns. Of course, the steward, played by Kenneth Williams, and basically saying it's not a finished hotel, and all kind of unfolds from there. The chaos. We have Pepe, played by Peter Butterworth, who is hilarious in this film. One of the best in a way. Peter Butterworth roles, because he is kind of influencing, interacting as well with all of the different characters, and he is, kind of one of the central, kind of obstructions for these characters, him being the manager and, every single role really, in this hotel. And I do think, at the same time as, all of this kind of chaos going on inside, it's just hilarious how, on the outside we do know that the hotel is not finished and everyone's left before it's actually done. It really was quite hilarious, and yeah, just kind of, it's a very interesting film in the way it kind of sets up where the characters are going. We have the kind of intro scene, and seeing with Vic, of course, and Cora, kind of in the bar there, and we do have Sadie Tompkins as well, played by Barbara Windsor. There's kind of some interesting setup here in the friction as well. Jack Douglas is in the kind of opening and ending scene. I think it would have been interesting to see him, go with them on this holiday, because he is, kind of, a really funny actor, and I thought seeing him, in this film would have been, quite cool. But he is just in the intro and the kind of outro of the film. But it's funny nevertheless. The kind of the gag, the returning gag, seeing him dropping, his drink. That is, quite funny. But yes, we have this intro scene. I really like that. And then of course we have the hilarious moment, on the coach, the bus, where they're all kind of getting on, meeting a lot of the characters here. That's their intro. Of course, you have Charles Hawtrey, and at first that is a normal kind of new character that he's playing there with his mum, of course, and her sending him off, and it's a really innocent moment. And then, I found, with Charles Hawtrey though, the rest of the film, he just become more and more drunk throughout the film, and by the middle act of the film, he is just a very stereotypical, drunk person. He doesn't really have anything to say in the film, and I thought it was a real waste of potential of, the brilliance of Charles Hawtrey. He had been in pretty much every single film, as we know until this point, and this is, his last film. And it's his worst character for me. I think it's just a real one note, just kind of sad, character. There's nothing to it. He is just drunk, and that is the character, of course. And it is funny at different moments in the film. Carry-on films when they're drunk, but this is just it. And I think seeing him at the beginning, it would have been nice to actually see some more to his character. More depth. And just more interactions and more charm, of course. But it doesn't happen, and that is one thing to note. But I think the rest of the characters we do see as well. Kind of most of them coming in here on the coach, on the bus, and I think as well, Bernard Bresslaw in this film, once again, more of a grounded character, that he's playing in this film. Obviously, recently talked about carrying up the Khyber. Wasn't big on, some of, that, in his character. It was just a bit too over the top. But once again, that in this film, he's given more of a usual grounded role that he's, great at. And I think it was really cool to see, and, some really funny moments and charming moments with him. And, I just think that the film is off to a very good start. The setup here, and I think the rest of the film is pretty much consistently, very, very funny, charming. Kind of. I think it does rely, I will say, on a bit too much on the innuendos, the double meanings, and all this. It's kind of just at times, constantly, a barrage of, all these double meanings and stuff. A bit too, relying on this. And a couple of them are a bit too cheap, mainly because of the sound effects. I think some of the later carry-ons, it's all fine, but they do have they're kind of a lot of sound effects like whistles and stuff added into the gags, and at times it is really funny, but in this one a bit too much, and it does happen quite a bit. It kind of takes away at times from the actual from the gags, and from the kind of seriousness of the film. It's a bit too silly at times with all the just for me the sound effects and all this. But yes, I think consistently it's very enjoyable. I think it does have a kind of grounded nature at times as well, and I think Kenneth and his partner in the film, their characters, I did enjoy. I thought it was quite an interesting way in which that kind of relationship develops, and by the final act, it's definitely something I didn't expect when I first saw it. How it kind of plays out, and how they are kind of kind of happy together, kind of thing, and it's something I thought they would in this film, kind of their characters split up and completely separate at the end, but it does come together nicely for them, I guess. And we do have that final act where it's all out, chaos, the building is collapsing and all this, the structure, and the flooding of the building. Pepe is kind of kind of in shock of all this, and no one's really helping him, because at that point we have that kind of drink that everyone's taken, and it's it really is chaos in that final act, but it's controlled. I don't think it goes too far. I thought for the most part it was really hilarious, and then we do have that kind of very vital, after all that kind of chaos, grounded kind of recap, or kind of touching base again with the characters. The epilogue really, when they return to of course the bar, and then a lot of the characters that have gone through this holiday together, this hotel in Spain, they have formed somewhat friendships, and it's a nice moment, I think, at the end there, when they're all kind of most reunited there, and it's kind of it's a nice way to end it on that note. And once again, as always, really I did enjoy quite a bit. Kenneth Williams, his character of Stuart. I also like his assistant that's with him, Moira. I thought that was quite an interesting kind of dynamic there, and just the way in which really all of the characters here are kind of on the same team, if you will, all kind of the kind of mercy of Pepe, and the disaster, of course. There's disaster after disaster throughout the film. Everything going wrong, from the dinner to, of course, the actual the beds, the sharing of the showers, kind of thing. People walking into their rooms. Some of the recurring gags, I think are really good. Like the window pane, the fact that it's missing at first, and then how it kind of links back at the end. And Sid James kind of crashes through. He runs into the window there. That is really hilarious. And I think just the elixir as well. It could have been done. The whole kind of elixir, that drink there, could have been done quite cheaply. But I think it really works well in the way it's done, and how it kind of progresses. Gets more and more out of control. By the end of the film, and all the characters really take this this drink, and it just kind of, it's just hilarious at times. And as well, we have Hattie Jacques, of course, in this film, and I think for my preference, not one of my favourite Hattie Jacques characters. Of course, being the cook and all this, and his mother, Pepe's mother. I thought, there's some funny moments, particularly at first, but really it's a bit one note for my liking as well, and it's a bit loud and a little, you could say irritating. Not really, but kind of borders on that, I guess. And I just thought, it could have been more, a bit of wasted potential there as well, and it wasn't, quite hilarious for me personally, and I think it's more, it serves a purpose, what's going on and stuff, but it's not really in itself that funny for me. But yes, I think most of the characters, their roles, are really good, and it's kind of an adventure film, if you will. The characters, the hotel kind of going off different things, outings and that, and then regrouping, throughout the film at the hotel. It's just there's a spot as well. Perhaps it's a bit too flat for me when they kind of end up in jail and stuff for a bit. That it could have been funnier, and it wasn't really necessary, I guess. It was a bit of a lull in the film, but then once again picks up in that final act when it's all kind of they're dancing, taking the drink, and the hotel is collapsing. I thought it was really good use of slapstick in this film, and also the writing for the most part is really good. As I say, a bit too much reliance on the innuendos, just a bit too much, and obviously as well the way it's done with the some of the sound effects and the editing it could have been better for me, but generally the writing is very strong. It's a couple of flat moments, but just a couple really, and mostly this is a very consistent film, and I just once again it's very, looking back on this film with fond memories. It's a very warm film, very charming, and it has that kind of that Carry On feel, a very particular British kind of charm, even though they are kind of going off, and it's a bit of a different Carry On film, of course, and location wise, and all that's kind of being abroad, obviously, it's very. It could have been entirely different and lost the sense of charm and kind of groundedness of the Carry On films, but it didn't. I think for the most part it worked very well, and I do think this is a very enjoyable film. It's a good, solid film, and my final rating for this film is a 72%. So yes, a high score from me. Definitely a solid film, and one that I do enjoy quite a bit. I think it's one of the better Carry On films. I think it's definitely one that I can watch and get a lot from. It's consistently very funny, and a couple of lulls here and there, and things that could have been better with a couple of the characters and storylines and narratives. But most of the characters, they're kind of the couples in the film throughout. It's just very, very enjoyable to watch, and there's a lot of friction between the different various couples as well. I enjoyed particularly Sadie, and Barbara Windsor's character, and how there is friction between her and Joan Sims, and obviously Sid James as well, Vic and Cora, that couple. But despite all this, the friction and kind of the goings on, and all the disaster at the hotel, and this entire holiday, I do like how at the end it's that kind of happy ending, if you will, and the characters are reunited in the bar, and it's very nice to see that. And it's just a very warm film. It's not much more to say there. Highly recommend seeing this film if you're just kind of going through this video, and it's a Carry On film that I do really enjoy quite a bit, and I think it's, as I say, one of the better Carry-Ons. I do like this one quite a bit, and I think it's a very worthy, solid film in the Carry On series. So yes, I enjoy this one for a number of reasons I've kind of outlined. I love the cast in this film. Massive ensemble, obviously, one of the highest cases of the regulars, as we know, with Matron joining it there, and it's great to see obviously the final Charles Hawtrey and all this, but regardless of some of the sadness of this, it has got a lot of the the staple kind of Carry On feel. Obviously we do have still Talbot Rothwell writing in this film. He did write Girls as well, and which was the next entry, and it's just I will be reviewing that one next. Girls on the channel. I'm not usually doing this in order, but I will be talking about one next, and it'll be cool to do that and hear your thoughts. But yes, for now, let's discuss this film in the comments. What do you think of it? What are your thoughts on this? Your experiences with this, and how did it for you compared to the rest of the Carry On films? For me, it's one of the better Carry Ons, as I've said, and has a lot going for it, and consistently very funny film, and very warm and charming and unique Carry On film. So yes. As always, take care, and thanks for watching.